Listeners, welcome to the very first UMR Talkisode. We have here today a special guest, but first, I'm Jessie B, she, her pronouns, working at Cornell College, and with me I have my co-host.
My name's Dallas Lancinese. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a hall director at North Dakota State University.
Great. And our special guest today is
Hi, I'm Nick Lander, he, him pronouns. I'm the Director of Housing and Residence Life at Kansas State University.
Sweet. Well, Dallas has our first question.
Yeah, so awesome. Thanks for introducing yourself, Nick. And it's crazy that we're like, yeah, tell us, where you work, but let's stop there already. And let's talk
Mhm.
about who you are outside of your job.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question for sure. Well, I think most importantly, I'm a father and husband. I've been married, be 17 years next week. So my wife is a music teacher at a middle school. So music's a big part of our life, going to her concerts as well as the concerts of my kids and everything else. And I have two daughters that are junior in high school, going to be a junior in high school and an eighth grader. So I'm now learning about being a college parent. I've worked with college parents for a long time, but now I'm headed towards being one myself and getting to go to recruiting events and, holding myself back when some of the information may not exactly be accurate about housing. So, yeah, I spend a lot of time obviously with them. My kids are really busy with, my oldest daughter does a lot of choir. So, choir stuff with school and done some honor choir things. She plays volleyball, and I've been coaching her club volleyball team for a few years. And then my youngest is more into kind of theater and musical stuff. So supporting her with that and very much interested in STEM kind of stuff. And so we just stay really busy with those aspects of life. Um, for me personally, a lot of my stuff outside of work revolves around sports. So I'm a big sports fan. I go to a lot of K-State sporting events. And then I coach. I've coached a variety of sports over the years. And most recently, I've started coaching club volleyball, which I've really grown to love. It's been a really learner is one of my top five Lipton strengths. So having not really played volleyball competitively, it's been a good learning opportunity for me. And I've enjoyed that part and had a chance to coach some really great athletes and families as a part of that. So have enjoyed that and continue to hope to do that. I'm on the board of our volleyball club and also I'm part of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board here in the city of Manhattan. So get to kind of be a part of what we offer to the community when it comes to parks and recreation. Been on that board for a few years, been the chair for a couple of years. For myself, I play pickleball. So I know that there's lots of interesting opinions about pickleball out there, but it's a fantastic sport. Highly recommend it, regardless of your athleticism, regardless of your age. And it's a great thing about pickleball is that really anybody can play and you can find great people to welcome you as part of that. So I play in a pickleball league and try to play as much as I have time to play. I've set as a goal to play in all 50 states. And so this coming week, I'm headed to Columbus, Ohio for Campus Home Live, ACUHO. So I'll get to check Ohio off the list of pickleball states I play pickleball in, which will put me at 10. So I'm 20% to my goal. Got a long way to go. So, but yeah, do a lot of that sort of stuff. I'm a big fan of different types of music. So when I'm kind of just by myself and need to kind of zone out, or if I'm cleaning or doing things, usually have music blasting louder than my music teacher wife thinks I should have it. She's very, worried about my hearing. So anyway, those are all things that are important to me. My parents, live about 3 hours away. So, helping them when I can. And so, yeah, it's, I live a busy life between all those things, but yeah, very fortunate.
I love that. What's been your current like on repeat song or album?
Hmm.
Or can you narrow down one?
I gotta think. I kind of went back to stuff recently that I listened to like when I was younger. some 90s stuff because I was a child, lived in the 80s and I've lived in multiple decades. But that's when I really got into music was in the 90s. So a lot of stuff from back then. And I listened to all sorts of genres. I don't listen to a lot of country, which is what the rest of my house listens to. But
Oh,
outside of that, I listen to kind of everything, and always kind of looking for kind of unknown type of artists. And one of my favorite things is if you watch NPR's Tiny Desk concerts,
mhm.
there's a ton of like excellent performances that are cover all sorts of genres of music. So if you're looking for just entertaining, they're kind of little live shows that happen in about 15 to 20 minutes, and they're on YouTube and podcasts and different things like that. So listen to a lot of Tiny Desk stuff. So if I come up with one specific, I'll let you know. I'll see. I can look at my playlist, but and see what I listened to recently.
Cool. Sweet. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
So next question is just kind of what's your higher ed story? How'd you get into the
yeah,
field? What's your timeline, different institutions, different positions, that kind of thing.
yeah. So I'm a big believer that like small decisions that you don't really realize are going to have a big impact on your life in that moment. When I went to K-State for undergrad, so when I was deciding where I was going to live, I considered it an off-campus kind of scholarship house for men that I had some friends that had lived in. And so I went and visited that. And I really was like, I just don't think this is for me. Like, I'm going to just live in the residence halls. My dad went to college. My mom has gotten a degree since then, but they did not live, they were married when they went to college. So they didn't ever have a typical college experience. And so they didn't really know advice wise what to tell me. And so I was one of those students who decided what college I was going to go to uh, towards the end of graduation. I wasn't 100% sure and did a housing contract late. And, I had no idea what I was doing. So, but I got placed and I was very involved in high school. I was student council president and I was junior class president, very involved in stuff. And so I told myself, like, oh, I'm going to go to college and I probably should just focus on academics and like take a break from all the activities and working that I was doing. And so I ended up in Haymaker Hall at K-State and just randomly assigned with a roommate I didn't know. And I was on the agriculture cluster floor. I did not know anything about agriculture. And my welcome to the hall moment, I moved in by myself. My parents didn't come up to help me, just put stuff in my car and drove to campus and moved in the day before class. I remember going up the elevator and got to my floor, and there was a guy that was roping like a little metal, thing, and I was like, okay, what is this? And my RA, Chris, greeted me and was super friendly, and he said, "Well, we are looking for people who might be interested in helping us as an intramural chair." And I was like, I don't know what intramurals are. What are intramurals? And he goes, "Oh, it's like sports competitions." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting to me. I like that sort of stuff." And so I was like, yeah, I would do that. I would help out with that. So really my first introduction to being involved on campus was intramurals. And I like got into that really quick early on. By the time September, so a month later, I was on the ARH executive board, Association of Residence Halls executive board, and I was signed up to go to McCurr, and I was like all in at that point on hall government, and got to know our senior staff, our community coordinator and assistant coordinator in the building, and so yeah, I was like all in on activities. I did not follow my own expectations when it came to limiting that. So I was really involved. I was ARH president my sophomore year. And I can distinctly remember the moment that I thought, okay, working on a college campus is what I want to do. I came to K-State as a statistics major. So I wanted to be a sports statistician, which I maybe should have stuck with because like sports analytics are huge now. I was ahead of my time, but I was one of four undergraduate statistics majors at K-State.
Wow.
And so to be honest, like they didn't really care about me. Like I was just they care about graduate students, right? Like whatever. And so pretty early on, I was like, okay, yeah, probably stats aren't going to be my thing. These advanced math classes are a little tough, even though I was pretty good at math. And by my sophomore year, I was a housing and dining ambassador. So I went to go help with recruiting events to tell people about living on campus at K-State. And so I was at the union and I was watching our former vice president, and he was our dean of students. And he was interacting with parents and interacting with students and just telling them about how great K-State was. I was like, wow, that's a really cool job. Like you can just tell people about how great this place is. And, and so that was kind of my moment. I was like, all right, this might be for me. And I had talked to my advisors and supervisors, and they said, oh, yeah, you can do this for a living. And so by my sophomore year, I knew that higher ed was my path. And so I was pretty lucky to know that early on. Kind of explored other majors to figure out how I could graduate on time. So I switched to psychology, and I ended up getting minors in American ethnic studies and leadership studies. And then I was really lucky. The people at K-State really gave me great opportunities I got to go to my first UMR-ACUHO as a student. I got to go to ACPA as a student, and I got to sit in placement and interview candidates. Like they let me do a lot of stuff as a senior that most folks don't get to do. And so just had great support from them, and did the typical grad search, figure out where I was going to go next, and had some great options, but ended up choosing Ball State University in Indiana. And I was an assistant residence hall director there for 2 years and had a great experience, both in the classroom, fantastic faculty, and a great experience in my hall. And so was there for 2 years, really enjoyed that. Decided I wanted to get out of the Midwest. So I kind of did more of a search toward the coasts and different parts, and ended up choosing to go to the University of Arizona in Tucson, and was a community director there for 3 years, and was just really an awesome experience. Challenging in a lot of ways, a very different student population than I had worked with before, and certainly a beautiful place to live, and the sun and all those sort of things, and lived in a very diverse part of the country, and really enjoyed that. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about other people, and really found some passions for issues of diversity and inclusion. And so that eventually led to my next position, which was back at K-State. And I was the coordinator for leadership development, and my responsibilities were our leadership and diversity initiatives within the housing department. And decided that coming back to where I knew would be a great place was important to me, close to home. And again, knew that people around me would help me have a great experience, and then I could in turn help students have a great experience. And was in that position for 2 years, and then applied for an assistant director role, and was selected to be assistant director for residence life, and oversaw the residence hall portion of our department. And then a few years later, took on some additional responsibilities, adding in our apartments, and became associate director. And then did that for quite a while, gathered some additional responsibilities over time. And so now I oversee our residence halls, our apartments, our departmental initiatives, which are projects, student recruitment, student retention, those sort of things, our marketing communications team, and then our summer conferences, guest housing, and events. So I have quite a wide variety under my umbrella, and my title changed to Director of Housing and Residence Life in April. So been back at K-State for quite a while. I guess this is year 19, 20. So K-State's home for me. Manhattan as a community is home for me and my family. And so, that's kind of my journey to get to where I am now. And I've got, there's been fortunate to work with great staff that have really made my job fun. And I think we have the opportunity to really have a positive impact on people here.
Yeah, it's always fun to hear when someone starts in undergrad and they end up kind of back there, whether it's to finish kind of their career or like just as another stop. But I always find that really interesting because it's always it's a little cyclical, and I love that.
Yeah, I think the piece of advice I got from a supervisor at one point, which I think was really helpful for folks that are in that situation, is that you will always want to go back to a place that made you who you are. But what you have to do is you have to go back understanding that it's going to be different when you go back. It's going to be different people. You're going to be in a different role. And so that advice, I think, helped me a lot. And I think being away for 5 years was good for me to learn to kind of, what do I appreciate about being here that I wanted again? And then what are things at other places that we could contribute. And I think that's one of the great things about the work that we do and the staff that we have here is that every year we've got new staff that come in that come from all sorts of different places who bring great ideas to our team and help us be better. And so, yeah, I'm very fortunate to find a place that has really home for me, but also really glad that I've been part of the evolution, both for us as a department and how we serve our students, but also for myself and how I've evolved as a professional and as a person over time.
Yeah, awesome. And in the realm of like positivity and just good things, what would you say is like some like favorite parts of your current job?
Yeah. Well, I think number one that comes to mind is that, as I said, we have all sorts of staff who come and are part of our team. And I think one of the things I'm most proud of and that I enjoy the most is seeing who those people become as professionals and as people. And they're going to go off and do great things at other places. And just I have a lot of pride in just hoping that I've had a small piece in them becoming what they are. And so I think that that's something that I really value and something that, yeah, makes me happy. I'm excited I'll see a lot of those people this coming weekend in Ohio and just staying in touch with them, whether it be through Facebook or text message or whatever it may be. Yeah, that part I think is probably my number one thing. I think the other part is that we go into this role, and especially if you're newer to the field, you work really closely with students every day. And as you move up, you have less and less and less of that. And so for me, most of the students are never going to know my name. They're never going to know who I am or what I do. But I hope that the work that I do and the way we set up our staff to serve students, that I'm having an impact, even though those students aren't going to know who I am, and I'm totally okay with that. But I think knowing that you're having an impact and knowing that you're making a difference is what gives you that intrinsic feel to say, okay, I'm doing something that I really love. And I'm a big believer that there's going to be times in your job where that intrinsic part is going to sink a little bit because maybe you're frustrated with the situation or and so maybe that extrinsic part has to kind of come up a little bit like, I feel like I should be paid a little bit more money. Like this is, and so finding a good balance of that, like that you're intrinsically being fulfilled by your work. And then hopefully you're being compensated and getting the extrinsic parts as well. And, you know, I'm a big believer that everybody in our department, regardless of what their job is, plays a role in their students having a good experience here. And so when people feel that way, I think they're more bought in the department. I think they're more bought in and just feeling good about what they do and coming to work every day and that what they do on our campus matters to the student experience. So I think that's something I really enjoy. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a learner. And so just learning through other people is something I really like. We do a little part of our staff meetings. We have the opportunity for staff to just kind of share something they want to share in a short presentation. Sometimes it's work related. A lot of times it's not work related. And so like a few weeks ago, someone did a presentation about K-pop. I know very little about K-pop. I know more now than I did before. And so just kind of seeing these little pieces of people and what they love, I like learning through them. And so I think that's something that's great. I love to wear purple. It's my favorite color, so it works out really great. My wall's blurred, but it's purple lavender wall back there. And so I feel good about that too. So lots of good things that make me feel good about the work I do.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
And last question for today, I think we may get into the soapbox in a minute, just
Sure.
like a brief version. But for now, any advice for younger professionals?
Yeah. Well, I've got a few things, and I've worked with a lot of staff. I supervised like full-time, we call them community coordinators at K-State, but residence life coordinators, resident directors. I supervised them for a long time directly. And what I saw were a few things that really led to their success and happiness. Number one is finding something outside of work that is important to you in the community. And I think it's our role for those of us that are supervisors and are in the community to kind of help people find those things. So for some, it's a faith community. For some, it's a place to do games. For some people, it's sporting activities or music. Find something outside of work so that you have connections that have nothing to do with the place that you work and you live. This is especially important when you're in a live-in role, and sometimes you feel like you see the same people every day. And so I think that's number one. And especially if you're in a situation like I was when I moved to Arizona, I knew a couple people in the community, but I really didn't know very many people at all. And so I was navigating that, by myself. And there's something exciting about that, but it's also a little stressful. And you get to those moments where you're like, I'm kind of lonely. Maybe I may or may not have connected with some of my coworkers. So finding things outside of that's really, I think, important just for their well-being and happiness. I think second is going in knowing that your first year is probably going to be the toughest, and you're learning a lot of new things. You're inheriting a staff that you probably didn't hire or have much influence in hiring. And so I think having the right approach to that's really key. And, my first professional role, I followed somebody that the staff really liked. And I had met, seemed like a super cool dude. And so some of them really struggled to adjust to do things the way I wanted to do. And so I finally got to a point where I said, look, he's not here. I am. And, but I'm going to give you opportunity to provide feedback, to provide suggestions, but just know that there's going to be decisions that I'm going to make by myself. There's decisions that I'm going to ask for your input, but I'm going to make. There's decisions that we will make as a collective. And then there's decisions that someone else is going to tell me what to do, and that's what we're going to do. So I think setting a clear tone with your staff to just say this is how it's going to be, and build those relationships so they trust you, is really important. And so all that, when you're learning a new place, you're trying to make friends, you're trying to get your staff to be on board with you. That makes the first year really difficult. And so I think that if you go in with that, knowing that, okay, this is going to be tough, but I can do it, have confidence in yourself, that it's going to get a little bit easier over time. You're still going to have some challenges in year 2 or 3 or 4, however long you decide to do this. But I think that first year is probably going to be your toughest as a collective time frame. By the time you get to year 3, if you're, stay in a live-in position and you get to year 3, at that point, I feel like you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing, feel relatively confident. I've got a staff I feel pretty good about. And so you might be able to take on some of those additional things. You may be able to get involved in organizations. And so really start to add on to your experience and do things that you enjoy doing. And I think that will help you. I do think that most folks get to a point where like, all right, I'm ready to move on, right? I'm ready to move into a different role. I'm ready to live off potentially, whatever that may look for you. And so really knowing that about yourself and trusting your instincts. I went in pretty much with a plan to say, I'm going to be in 3 years, and then I think I'm going to be ready to go. There's a lot of dynamics that play into that. So certainly every individual is going to have their own circumstances to consider, but I think kind of going in with a little bit of a plan. I think what I see are folks who are not really sure about what they want to do long-term. And I think those are the ones that are often like, okay, do I stay in higher ed? Do I shift to something else? I want to just run an Airbnb or whatever it is that makes you happy, and figure that out. So I think those are a few pieces of advice I would have. I think finding a mentor and making sure you realize that your supervisor may not be your mentor. In fact, probably most of the time shouldn't be your mentor, and find somebody who you connect with, whatever that may look like for you. And I remember I had a candidate years ago. She was brilliant. And she asked me in our wrap up, I just want to check with you to see how comfortable you are. If I find a mentor outside of you as a supervisor, I just prefer to find a woman that I feel like I can connect with as a mentor. And I was like, that's awesome. I appreciate the question. And I think it kind of gave me a really good moment to think about how important that is to people, and finding a mentor that you feel really good about, and making sure you're upfront with your supervisor to say, I'm not looking for them to be my supervisor. I'm looking for them to be a mentor. You can be my supervisor. I still want to get advice from you. But really having a difference between those two things. Sometimes those mentors may not even be in higher ed or in housing. So I think that's probably a couple pieces of advice outside of the soapbox topics, if that's what we're getting to next. So
Great. I guess we can go straight into that soapbox. We have a few more minutes.
Foreshadowed right into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think we all have our little things, right? that are like really, some of them are very uh, probably irrelevant to other people, right? They're kind of our own deals. So, and I think and some of them may be housing related. I think for me, like one of mine is I really pay close attention to flooring. Like when I go into, like we have apartments on campus. And so when I go into an apartment, if the flooring is like stained or looks bad, I'm like, oh, we got to fix this. Whereas my other colleagues will go into a room and they don't even notice the flooring. They saw that the paint was wrong, or they saw that, so we all have our little things, right? I think so. Sometimes I get on a soapbox about that.
It's a good soapbox.
Another one that's what's that?
It's a good one. I like
It
it.
is, yeah. Another one that I don't like uncovered bulletin boards. I am okay if you're in transition, may not have topic stuff on your bulletin board, but to just see the cork board, I'm not a fan. I also don't like seeing tape on posters. So I'm a little old school residence life probably when it comes to some of those things. If I need to teach folks how to loop and hide is the technique for taping,
Yes,
I can do that.
yes.
But yeah, signage, that sort of thing. I think the one that's like important though, and it's on my mind today because I was doing some of this stuff earlier today, and that is that in every job you have, there's going to be some things you're going to need to help out with that may not be in your job description, and I think sometimes folks maybe get caught up in that, and I'm all for having boundaries. Trust me, if there's something that's just not right for you to do, I understand that. But the example that was on my mind is that we're preparing for our new staff to come to campus and move here. And so we're going through apartments, making sure everyone's got the furniture they need and all that sort of stuff. And so that's not in anybody's job description. Nowhere does it say that you're responsible for making sure staff furniture is where it's supposed to be, right? But for our staff to have a positive experience and for us to kind of build a culture that's welcoming, somebody's got to do that. So, this morning, some of us were up at 7 o'clock trying to beat the heat and in our storage pods and going. And, some of our staff did a great job looking through all of our units. And this is okay, we got to move this couch to this place. And this one needs a new mattress and that sort of thing. Those are things that are not in anybody's job description. So sometimes you're just going to have to contribute. And if you have lots of people who are willing to do that, it took us a little more than an hour to get that all taken care of. And I will say sometimes, so responsibility is also in my top 5 strengths, and it's a blessing and a curse. And so there's things that often I probably do that others around me are like, what are you doing that for? Like, I'm typically the oldest one out there moving furniture, probably in the worst shape. But at some point, like it's got to be done. And so I think my wife gives me grief about it sometimes. Say, why are you doing that? Don't you have other folks that can do that? I'm like, yeah, probably. But at some point, you just have to contribute and help out. So I think that's one thing. Is just be open to the opportunities that are there to just say, okay, I'm going to spend a couple hours helping out with this thing because I know it needs to be done. And you will gain a lot of appreciation from the people around you. I know, like we ask a lot of our facility staff. And one of the things I learned by talking with our director of facilities within housing is, the concern that he has about his staff and the wear and tear on their bodies and what they have to do every day to take care of our spaces and paint and do grounds and landscaping and all that sort of stuff. And so if you can just take a moment to help, when I ask our staff, housekeeping staff to flip apartments in a very short time frame because I'm trying to make things work for some student athletes that are coming early, I say, tell me where to find the stuff to clean and I will come help. Mm-hmm. I think I can paint too. I was on paint crew when I was a student, so I do know how to paint correctly in residence halls and apartments. But sometimes you just have to see if you can contribute. And I know they really feel it makes them appreciate that you're willing to do those things. Same goes in our dining services. There may not be as many opportunities because you got to know what you're doing. You can't just go back there and start cooking stuff. But, there's we would have a finals breakfast, for example, and our staff would come and help serve meals and cook. And so there was one day I sat and cooked tater tots for 3 hours. I didn't eat any tater tots for a while after that, but just contributing and learning about what other people do is really key. So I think that's important. another one, this isn't really a soapbox topic necessarily, it goes back to advice, but really know your facilities. And one of my favorite things, and my supervisor, Dr. Derek Jackson, is a big fan of this, is grab a set of master keys and start opening doors and
Yeah,
figuring out where do you have stuff, what's where, and learn your building very well. I think it comes back to our students move into our spaces, and it's mostly their parents. But I rarely get a phone call from a parent who's upset about a program that their student attended. They're upset because the AC doesn't work in their room,
mhm,
or a towel bar fell off, or those are the sort of things that parents are concerned about because they want their student to have those things done. So if you do a good job of taking care of those things, then you can really do a great job building on top of that with the programming that you do and the community building that you do, because then you have it all. You've got great facilities. You've got a community that students feel valued and that they belong in, and they're getting to do social things. You're supporting their academic success. They're eating great meals in the dining center. I mean, we can really do some special things for those students to have a great experience and set them up to be academically successful and reach the goals that they came to achieve. So I think for me, that's really what it, if I'm going to boil it all down to one thing, our students come here with some goals. Sometimes those goals change.
right.
But if we create environments where they can achieve those things, they have a good time, they meet people they feel great about, they're going to have great things to say about their experience, and we're doing what we are here to do.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, taking the time to meet with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's always fun to get to know one of our senior professionals. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I didn't mention earlier, but I'm excited to be involved in UMR again as the president-elect, and I'll start in October as president. So excited for where UMR is going, and I appreciate your committee finding ways to engage our staff in a variety of ways to learn more about what we do in the housing world and just help people connect. So look forward to seeing folks that are going to be attending the conference in October in Omaha. So,
great. We'll see you there.
all right, sounds good. Thank you all.
Thank you.